Welcome to another episode of the Less is More Sports podcast, where Matt and Bean and I are here again for some of the best topics in the world of sports. And Matt, I'm going to kick this podcast off a little differently today. You know, man, I've had a lot of time to think this past week. I'm 28 years old. I own my own home, own my own car, have a good paying job. Still want to get farther in the podcast world, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. Have a great girlfriend and have a bean, which is really all you really need half the time. You have a bean. So I think about all these things, and I just can't help but to think how lucky I am and how little of time I have for the ignorances in life that is hatred. I got no room in my heart for hatred at all. I mean, even the people in my life that have really done me wrong, at the end of the day, it is what it is. It made me stronger as a person. And that right there is what John Gruden should have learned, because those emails are 100% wrong. And that is all I have to say about that, Matt.
Yeah, people act like this is a touchy subject for them, but I don't really get it. I mean, the bottom line is, say what you want about digging up those emails. Just because some of them were old, some of them still date to 2018, and none of what we saw was good.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to act like we've moved past this point, but in reality, we really haven't. We can try to present a public image all we want, but at the end of the day, you are who you are in the dark. At your worst moment, when you think no one is watching, that's you. And if that gets exposed, that's on you. You can't go back. You can say you wish you want to go back and change it all you want, but that's you. But the good news is you can move past that. You can go out and you can work on yourself. You can work on the areas you don't like, and you can change yourself. And that's just all we got to hope in this scenario, is that the people involved, whether it be Gruden, whether it be other people who received those emails and, maybe even responded to them. That's just all we can hope for is, people see some error in their ways. They realize what they're doing hurts other people, even if they assume it's just a joke, which is kind of a hard learning curve to get over, but it needs to be done, and goes back and reevaluates some things. And who knows, maybe we have a nice, honest to God, no publicity involved redemption story. And that's the best case scenario. But yeah, bottom line is, if you're in a leadership position, you can't make statements like that, especially when those statements affect the people you are supposed to lead. You can't be a leader of men and an insulter of men at the same time. And that's the lesson we learned. And the Raiders moved quickly on it, and we have to give them a little bit of kudos there. But other than that, yeah, 100% wrong, needed to be done. And let's just hope for the positives that can come out of the scenario to come out of the scenario.
This reminds me of a story that my mom used to tell me as a kid about a single father who was raising his son. Every time his son would do something wrong, he would have his son hammer a nail in the fence. Every time he would do something right to supposedly make up for it, he would pull the nail out. Well, at the end of this experiment, the son looks at the fence and sees all these holes in the fence. And his dad looked at him and said, "You see this? The damage is already done. No matter what you've done to take back it's already done. So try to not make those damages to begin with." And that's what we all need to learn, whether you are John Gruden, whether you are Patrick Mahomes' brother, because we didn't forget about that either. Or and as we talked about pre-podcast, apparently the Washington football team's organization. Just do your best to not make those mistakes so that you don't have to backtrack. It makes it a whole lot easier.
It does.
And Bean would agree.
He's looking at us with the face of approval.
Yes, he is. This is the face of approval if you can't see it.
You may not be able to see through it, but it's definitely the face of approval.
It is. And Bean knows. Bean, if you don't believe us, believe Bean. Isn't that right? Yep, that's a yes.
That's a yes.
But anyways, I think it's time to get into this the topic that everyone's looking forward to, and that is the 2-minute drill. So we got a lot of topics to talk about today. So Matt, do you have the timer ready?
Whenever you are.
All right, go ahead and start. Go ahead. First topic is Texas blows another double-digit lead versus a ranked opponent for the second straight week. Is the Stark era in trouble early? Matt, go ahead and start the timer. Look,
I'm going to probably disagree with you here. Oh, start the timer. I thought you meant go ahead and go. Sorry.
no, start the timer. Start the timer.
All right, we're good.
All right, we got the timer. All right. So here's the thing about that. As a Texas fan, I know firsthand just about the lofty expectations that our organization has on each coaching staff and each coaching staff regime. However, I can't help but to disagree more in that we do need more time with the Sark era, because with the things that I have seen, though it has looked bad, I see a very bright future with the Texas Longhorns, and we need to get more of Sark, Pete Kwiatkowski, Kyle Flood recruiting classes to come through the organization before we actually get an accurate sense of how this regime is going to go.
I mean, you're 100% right. When Texas got off to that hot start to start the year, we were immediately thinking like, oh man, here comes the era. It's easy to forget this is his first year. Any first year is going to have bumps and bruises and injuries and philosophical implementations that hold the team back a little bit because they're still trying to learn the system. And when a team takes off and does some things like Texas did, there are going to be more than a few moments of just face palming, because that's what happens when you have a new coach, you have a new regime, you have new players trying to learn a new system. But you're 100% right. It's the first year. The Big 12 is still a semi-premier football conference. It's not like you're playing in the AAC and you lost to SMU. You've lost to Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, who are ranked, who are unbeaten, who are not bad football teams. This isn't like you lost to Baylor. Texas will be fine. And the big news that came out of this weekend after the loss was that Arch Manning is leaning towards Texas because he likes Steve Sarkisian. It's his first year. Give the man time. Texas is A-OK. They will be fine. Cha-cha, real smooth. Cha-cha-cha. I got a new phone, so I'm trying to figure out how the timer works here. So
it's all good. I think the sound's all the same, and of course, Bean is wondering what the heck I'm doing to him. Anyways,
like, why am I dancing?
On to the next topic. Purdue shocks the world and upsets number 2 Iowa. How does this shake up the Big Ten and the college football playoff? Well, Matt, this made a pretty big mess, because now you have all the top teams in the Big Ten with one loss, meaning that another loss is going to definitely put you out of it. And then it begs the question, do we put a one-loss Big Ten team over an undefeated team in college football? Maybe like a team I'm about to mention with the next topic. We don't know. But anyways, it's going. We are, but anyways, it's going to make the end of the Big Ten conference games very competitive. I'm all for the competitive football play, but honestly, I mean, and this also may give Ohio State a shot, because if we were to have an undefeated Big Ten champion, Ohio State would have been on the odd man out with that loss to Oregon early in the season. But now the Buckeyes are playing their best football, and this gives them a shot.
That's exactly what I'm thinking too. But before I get to that, I mean, Iowa, they're going to be fine. They took an L. It was a pretty big L. But reminder that Purdue does this every year. Purdue has one game where they just come out and absolutely boat race a team that they have no business destroying. Remember when they had Rondale Moore and they beat Ohio State 49-20? Ohio State was fine that year. Iowa's going to be fine. The Big Ten West is a huge disappointment. Heck, I don't even know who the second best team is. It's probably Nebraska. And if the second best team is Nebraska, that's not bad at all. But the big takeaway here is that it's definitely going to – Ohio State's back in the driver's seat in terms of conference and football playoff implications here. They have one loss. They're a name brand. C.J. Stroud looks pretty good. And even if C.J. Stroud goes down, they have a great backup quarterback. They do have to have a tougher road to get there. But we've counted Ohio State out before, and that Oregon loss looks more and more like an anomaly the further we get away from it. So my big implication is it doesn't change really the overall picture. I still think it's Iowa and Ohio State, and they're going to be competing in Indianapolis. That's all I got to say. I
I'm
actually
gonna have to
figured it out.
disagree. I'm gonna have to disagree with the Twitter poll. I think Beans got you in dance moves.
Oh, come on. You're controlling Bean. I have to come up with it on my own. I don't have a. No one can puppet on me.
How do you know this isn't like Dinner for Schmucks and he's using mind control to control me to control him?
It's like Ratatouille, but with dogs. There we go.
Exactly. So
It's
our next
Ratatouille, but with dogs. That should be the name of this podcast.
Ratatouille, but with dogs. Okay. Anyways, on to the next topic, and more of a statement than really a topic. But as that team that I am going to mention and with this next topic, Cincinnati moves up to number 2, and the playoff hopes are getting realer and realer. Yes, they are. And of course, we all know that they have the easier part of their schedule left. And with more dominating performances like they did against UCF, it's going to be harder and harder to keep the Bearcats out. However, with how competitive the likes of the Big Ten are going to get, I can't help but to think in the back of my head that the college football committee is going to pull something shady and keep the Bearcats out. And that would be an absolute crime, because I think after the COVID year, to help even rejuvenate college football to another level this year, I think we need a Cincinnati in the college football playoff.
Les, I'm going to be honest with you. It was a great prediction, and I'm still on the bandwagon with you. They're getting screwed. It's happening. The Alabama loss and the Ohio State loss and now the Iowa loss are the worst things that could have happened to Cincinnati. They're number 2 in the country right now, but we've still got, 6 weeks to go-ish, counting championship weeks? And if I'm in the committee room and it's the day we're announcing the college football playoff, and let's say the day before Alabama and Georgia just played like the most insane, mind-numbingly great football game in the history of football, and Alabama comes out of there with a win, and they knock Georgia from the ranks of the unbeaten, and we got a 1-loss Georgia and a 1-loss Alabama, and then I've got a 1-loss Ohio State and an undefeated Oklahoma. I'm not going to say that Cincinnati is better than Alabama in that case. I'm going for the money. I'm going for the ratings. I'm going for the biggest impact bowl you could have. And I don't care if I have to make Alabama and Georgia play in the 1-4 semifinal. I want that matchup 10 times out of 10. Because unlike every other year where we all complain about the college football playoff letting Notre Dame in and them losing 44-10, if I can avoid that by creating like one of the greatest matchups in the history of like college football between the greatest defense, the rematch, the grudge match, I'm going to do that. I'm going to say, Cincinnati, sorry, you're going to the Fiesta Bowl. And in the Fiesta Bowl, they'll probably get a team they can beat. But I've already got a bad feeling that Cincinnati, unless they absolutely destroy SMU by like 40 points, is going to get the short end of the stick come January. I'm bringing back the Dougie.
Teach me how to Dougie. Teach me how to Dougie. I actually felt like tagging you in a post and saying, Matt, some of these young kids don't even realize where the Dougie originated. That song by Lil Will, not this Cali Swag District BS song that we have that got really popular. But y'all need to respect the original, My Dougie by Lil Will. That's the OG right there.
Or Les will find you. I promise he will. You don't want to know what's going to happen to you if you disrespect that.
Did you not listen to the beginning of the podcast, Matt? I got all love in my heart, bud.
In certain areas, let's be honest, certain areas are all love.
Moving on to the next topic.
If I said Lil Wayne sucks, see, there we go. Show's over, guys. None but love. All right. Nothing but love, my ass.
Anyways, on to the next topic. Ed Orgeron is out at LSU. What's next for the Tigers? And look, guys, I know what you all are wanting. You're wanting me and Matt to come here and predict the next LSU head coach. Well, you know what? Sorry to disappoint you, but I think Matt and I may know somebody who has a pretty good idea, whose name I'm not going to mention because I don't want to boost his ego any more than it already is. But anyways, what I'm going to say is that LSU needs to find their identity, because this is a team that has changed up their schemes and their game plans and their overall identity so much within the last 20 years or so that I don't even think they know who they are anymore. They took one of the most drastic falls from grace you will ever see in your life, from winning a national championship to being flat out hard to watch. And that's hard to do. And it started with the loss. Everyone wants to say, oh, well, how much Burrow did. No, the loss of Joe Brady was the biggest part of that was the biggest departure from that championship team. So my suggestion to the LSU Tigers football program is to reclaim an identity and run with it.
That's not a bad thing to say, and I'll probably get into something like that in a minute here, but it's just so jarring that, like, 21 months removed from that national title, how much the world has changed. Not only for LSU, but in general. I mean, COVID, we had the COVID season. Jamar Chase sat out. A lot of the top prospects sat out for LSU during that year, and they still went up over 500. But LSU also got a new athletic director. And if there's one thing that you don't want to be, it's a coach from an old regime who's not already tenured with a new AD, because that is the quickest way to get put out on the street. ADs love to put their guys in positions. It's part of the reason Archie Miller's buyout became a non-factor at the end of the season, because Scott Dolson was a new AD. He wants his guy. Ed Orgeron will rebound somewhere in the mid-tier, but for the time being, he's just the victim of a new AD trying to help them find their identity. You hit it on the head. You can't see it, but I'm doing the stanky leg. Oh, ow, my calf. Oh, God. Ow. I stanked my leg too hard.
He did the stanky leg a little too hard, and then he got a cramp.
My leg, man. My leg is stank. Is that even a verb? I don't know.
We can make it one. We can make it a verb. It's a verb now.
This is not scripted. I am really having a Charlie horse right now.
Shake it off. Rub some dirt on it like the old Peyton Manning commercials you would say.
Is he going to hit me in the head with a football next? That probably helped my head, though. So
and then
okay.
Tell you suck, like he did in those Saturday Night Lives.
I do. So, I mean, I'm not going to complain about that.
Oh, wow. You got to have more confidence in yourself. But anyways.
What is confidence?
Confidence for our next topic is something that the Jaguars can get going forward, because they snapped the second longest losing streak in NFL history at 20 games with their win over the Dolphins this past weekend. But the main part of this topic is number 1 overall pick Trevor Lawrence gets his first win as a pro. How much pressure does this take off him? Look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm not going to sit here and say that the Jaguars are going to go on some crazy winning streak to end the year and that they're going to totally flip the switch. I think another team in the AFC South is going to do that, but that's for a later topic. Anyways, but I do believe that anytime you are a quarterback with the lofty expectations that Trevor Lawrence was given, to get that first win off your back is most crucial. Now he has something to build on. Now the Jaguars have something to build on and show that they can be successful. Yes, it's against the Dolphins, and I know about their struggles, but I watched a lot of those throws that Trevor made in that game in London at that, and they looked really good. Even his incompletions, in a lot of ways, should have been caught, went off the hands of the receivers. He was stepping up in the pocket, avoiding pressures from the edges. He was making plays on the run, showing the true ability on why he was the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft.
I'd just like to say that putting expectations on the Jacksonville Jaguars is like putting expectations of me going on to The Bachelor. It ain't going to happen, or they're going to be very much unfulfilled. And so that's my big takeaway from it. Is like, yes, it's great Trevor Lawrence got a win, but what kind of expectations do you have for the Jacksonville Jaguars? The lowliest of franchises, with Urban Meyer as their head coach, who God knows how long Urban Meyer is going to be their head coach because of the various extracurricular activities he's partaking in. So, that's my big takeaway. Is like, yes, it's good, but my big takeaway was Miami needs a quarterback. Trade the farm for Deshaun Watson. End of statement.
You got to respect the grind.
I'm so talented.
Oh, man. I can literally see his face changing even before the transition. It's not like a...
No, I am not. How'd you do that?
Because we used to do it all the time as a kid.
I never did that because I couldn't. I
Matt's was
didn't
more
have
like,
an.
I don't even know. I can't. I don't even know if I could do it wrong like Matt did. I don't even know, man.
I'm very talented at doing things incorrectly. See, I'm,
It's a
I'm
very
like the Jacksonville Jaguars.
talent is talent. I got to give it there. All right. Moving on to the next topic. After throwing 2 interceptions, Patrick Mahomes regains his rhythm and scores 21 unanswered in a win. Is this what the Chiefs need to get back on track? Look, my big thing is we're all going to be talking about. We're all talking about Mahomes right now, as we should. Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best young quarterback in the league right now. We all know what he can do when playing from behind. We all know how it takes no time in him for score. But my big takeaway from that game is how the defense played. I get it's the Washington football team. Taylor Heineke is not necessarily a household name, but for the Chiefs with how their defense is playing, a team that gave up 42 points to the Philadelphia Eagles, any type of defensive performance like that has to be confidence boosting going forward because the defense was the number one issue for the Chiefs this whole season. And to get a performance like this is more refreshing than anything Mahomes can do.
I don't know because, like you said, it's the Washington football team. Even if they had Ryan Fitzpatrick, I would not be super impressed with the way they played because for until halftime, this was a close game. Yes, I know Mahomes settled into his groove, but that's because for the first half, Mahomes was playing hero ball because Washington was playing them fairly tight. And I don't know if that's the big energy they had from what should have been a momentous day of celebrating one of the greatest players in the history of football who never was because of tragedy. But that first half, it looked like Washington might actually win the thing. And then because Washington overcommitted on defense to their pass rush, and Patrick Mahomes took care of it. And that's what you can't do against him. You can't give him big, wide open lanes to throw into, but even if your pass rush is supposed to be very, very good. So I don't really know if I learned anything about Kansas City other than they could still take out the bad teams. I just want to see when they play the Raiders, the Chargers again, because the division and the other opponents they got left are still really tough, and they aren't going to have Taylor Heineke at quarterback. Yeah. Threw my shoulders into it there.
Don't throw your shoulders out. You
Yeah,
already got a cramp. You already got a cramp. We don't need to throw your shoulders out.
Over and the rest of the podcast, I'm going like this, like, "Hi, friends. Sports podcast." All right. Oh man.
All right, next topic. As the Colts move to the easier part of their schedule and the roster starts to get healthy, how realistic are the Colts' chances to make a dark horse playoff run? Matt, you predicted at the beginning of the year that the Colts would start off slow, but in the year hot, and I think this is a good chance as many. Because the key to the Colts' offense clicking is getting the ground game going. And when Jonathan Taylor has been an absolute monster the last couple of weeks, and I expect him to continue to be one as the season progresses, especially as the roster continues to get healthy, as we get Braden Smith back eventually, as we get Quentin Nelson back eventually. Jonathan Taylor is going to have even bigger running lanes to run through, and he's going to continue to have success on the ground. Not to mention you get health at T.Y. Hilton at a receiver position, who continues to own the Houston Texans, I might add. But anyways, as the Colts settle into the easier part of their schedule, this is definitely as good a chance as any to make a run towards the end of the season and get into a wild card playoff position.
You see, here's the thing too about this, Les. If Rodrigo Blankenship is healthy on Monday night, the Colts might be 3-3 right now and looking to be tied with the Tennessee Titans to be in first place of the division. But they're not, and they're still 2-4 and still in a really good spot. What does scare me though is Paris Campbell already is hurt himself again. He's out for a considerable amount of time. T.Y. Hilton had a quad injury yesterday on a great catch that helped sink the Texans' boat, but still he's hurt. And I would like it if they would just get a little bit more depth at receiver because I love the running game. But if you get a team that's good at clogging the middle like the Bills are, you're going to have to take some shots to the outside. So I don't know who that's going to be, if that's part of that Marlon Mack trade we always talk about, or something else. And the other thing I'd like to see is when Quentin Nelson gets back, is it time to move Quentin Nelson to left tackle? Because Eric Fisher, even in a blowout game, he got blown up a few times. So it comes down to me, can they get depth at receiver, and does Quentin Nelson move the left tackle and block the hell out of anyone who tries to sack Wentz? Everybody get your roll on. I didn't crap myself that time, so I'm happy.
That is a win. We got to take wins where we can get them. We're like the Jaguars. We got to take wins where we can get them.
We need Advil. Hooray! Please sponsor this podcast, Advil. Please, maybe.
I'm going to let Matt take majority of this next topic because this was a preseason selection that he made. This topic is the Bengals are currently 4-2 and currently in second place in the AFC North. How is Matt feeling about his preseason selection?
I love it. What can I say? They beat Minnesota in week 1. Minnesota looks really good. If anybody can make a kick, maybe they beat the Packers, and we're talking about the 5-1 Bengals right now. Now, of course, they have a big game with Baltimore this weekend, and, I still don't think they're at the level to beat Baltimore right now. But the Bengals are clicking. Every free agent signing they made is proving to be really good. Trey Hendrickson is a godsend at the defensive line position. Jamar Chase looks absolutely amazing. It's like the connection is still there. He does have a few drops, but he's a rookie. That's to be expected. He may be having one of the best rookie seasons we've ever seen. You still got T. Higgins. You still got Joe Mixon, who is just an incredible running back right now. And Joe Burrow, I have no problem saying this. Joe Burrow has demoted. Well, no, I forgot about Ben Roethlisberger. But Joe Burrow has demoted Baker Mayfield to the third best quarterback in his division. He's behind. Now Burrow still may be behind Lamar Jackson, but he's definitely ahead of Joe Burrow because he's doing less with more right now.
Joe Burrow's ahead of Joe Burrow?
No, Joe Burrow's ahead of Baker Mayfield. I'm sorry.
I got your back on that one.
Blah, blah, blah. I get excited talking about Joe Burrow because I just love watching him play. Once he learns to slide and not destroy his throat, that'll be great. But until that point, the Bengals, they look very good because they were very bad last year. They have a decent schedule going forward. And if they can stay healthy, get those receivers up, I think they'll be a really tough out. They are the ultimate spoiler team. They have a good defense. They have a good running back. They have a good quarterback. And they have great young receivers. They're the ultimate team that comes into your place, and even if they don't win, they may cost you some home field advantage or some players going forward. Go Bengals. I can't do the Icky shuffle, but I'm trying to do the Icky shuffle because that's the only Bengals thing I know. Icky Woods. That ought to be a list we do sometime. Greatest one-year wonder players.
That could have been our list this week. But
I like the topic we decided. We'll do it next week.
1-year wonder players. Are we going to do specific sports or all sports?
All the sports.
I like it. Let's do it. Go big or go home.
It could be a whole podcast. We'll have to save that for like February when nothing's happening.
Fair enough. Just like a whole podcast on one hit wonders. And think of all the music like references we could tie into that.
We could. I would have like a whole list, and you would just look at me like I hate you so freaking much right now.
I'm looking at you, Billy Ray Cyrus.
Come on, Eileen.
Anyways, next topic. With Nick Chubb already down, Baker Mayfield re-injures his shoulder. Kareem Hunt is now down with a calf injury. Sorry. How much should the Browns worry? 100%. Because we all know that the offense is predicated off the running game that Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt give you. We all know that Baker Mayfield is not necessarily a franchise-changing guy, but he is a franchise-managing guy. He is a guy who can make good plays at the right time, but he's not exactly going to make something out of nothing. So the three major key pieces of that Browns offense are all down, and that's going to put an entirely new pressure on that Browns defense that saw a lot of weaknesses the week prior and saw a lot of holes. But anyways, the Browns should 100% be worried that their three key offensive players are all down.
It would be easy to worry about these achy breaky Browns, but I'm going to tell you why we shouldn't exactly hit the panic button yet. These are the Browns' next 4 games. Broncos, they could easily win that, even 50%. Steelers, kind of a toss-up, but if you can get to Big Ben, you're good. Bengals, that's a tough game. Patriots, who knows who the Patriots even are? One week they look fantastic, the next they look like complete rubbish. The Lions. The Lions is the Lions. You know how they said the Browns is the Browns? The Lions is the new Browns. I love you, Dan Campbell, but you're not winning. And then the schedule gets tough. So they've got some time and a bye week thrown in there to get a little bit healthier, to get like a floundering Denver team, to get a questionable Pittsburgh team. And then, you do get the Detroit Lions and you get a tough one with the Bengals, but the Bengals are still young. You may steal that one. So, yeah, it may be a tough road, but it's not impossible for these achy, breaky Browns to come out of nowhere. So I'm not going to tell the Browns fans' hearts, their achy, breaking hearts, to worry about these Browns. And you're wishing you never mentioned Billy Ray Cyrus right now. But they're going to be okay. They'll at least go 2-3 during that span, and they'll be in it for the wild card. You can tell the world you never was my girl.
Achy, breaky.
Don't
Oh, I can't.
tell
I
my
can't.
heart,
I'm not gonna do
my
it.
achy, breaking heart. I just don't think you'd understand.
Note to self: never bring up Billy Ray Cyrus on this podcast again.
Dang it, Milers, you can't. I was just thinking of Hannah Montana. Do you get the best of both worlds, Les, when you do this podcast?
You almost said my name with the most country accent. You get the best of both worlds, Les. Oh man, that for all my FedEx coworkers, that opened up a big inside joke that only they know about. But anyways,
I'm in on it. They call me after the show and tell me how to annoy you.
Oh, fair enough. Anyways, on to our last topic of the 2-minute drill. What surprised you most about the NL and AL series? What is there to expect now? Look, nothing really surprises me, Matt, honestly. I think personally with how this postseason is going, I think the Dodgers and the Red Sox will be the teams that play in the World Series. I think the Red Sox are just playing red hot right now, and I think Dodgers are the best team in baseball. That's all I have to say. But I'm going to leave this. I'm going to leave baseball, your first love, to you on this one.
Oh boy, it's bold of you to stick by the Dodgers because I thought the Dodgers were going to make it to the World Series anyway. But I wanted them to play the White Sox because of my own selfish hubris and ambition. But the freaking Braves, man, where the hell did this come from? They're up 2-0 in the NLCS, and I wish I could particularly give you insight on how they do it. But like we discussed last week, half of baseball is just some kind of mystic sacrifice to an elder god we don't understand. It's incredible. Max Scherzer looked very human last night. The Jock Peterson, who the Dodgers traded away to Chicago, who ended up on the Braves as like a last-second dump-off at the trade deadline, hits a home run that changes the momentum of the game by tying it early, and then they never look back. I don't get it at all. I do not get how the Braves are doing this. I don't know if this is the power of the trade deadline, acquiring all those outfielders, but they just look, they're out slugging the Dodgers, who are like the great slugging team we've all wanted. Cody Bellinger even got back for a game, it's felt like, and the Dodgers still won. It's indescribable. I mean, the Red Sox and Houston series, that's going 7 games, I think, just because I don't know where the Red Sox found this offense, but I wish they would lose it because it's just mind-numbing how good it's been. Ugh. Hit it out of the park. Batting practice. You want me to sing center field?
No. Please don't. Anyways, before we move on to everyone's favorite portion of the podcast, I am going to make another music reference and say that I feel like Lil Wayne when he dropped the song Off, Off, Off with the Cavs trailing 3-1 in the NBA Finals. I'm still rolling with the Dodgers. Matt has no idea what I'm talking about.
No. Well, I mean, Lil Wayne is all about the 6 foot, 7 foot, so.
And you have
I
basketball
I don't
players that are 6 foot and 7 foot. So there you go.
I don't know if that's what he meant, but he was talking about it's a sample of the Banana Boat song by Harry Belafonte, which is a fun song, you know.
Anyways, just from a little more context for Matt, with the Cavs trailing 3-1 in the NBA Finals against the Golden State Warriors, Lil Wayne boldly drops a song called Off, 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 which predicts the Cavs to win the NBA championship, as they go on to do. Forget the creator of The Simpsons. Lil Wayne might be from the future as well.
The only thing I know about diss tracks in the NBA Finals is that time Shaq asked Kobe how his ass tasted.
When Kobe lost to the Celtics the first time, yes, I remember.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was a great diss track, but I don't think Lil Wayne wrote that.
No, I don't. No, I think the
He
metaphors would
wished
have been a
he
lot
could write
better.
something like that. I bet he wished he wrote that line at the time. But I'm not Lil Wayne. I can't speak for him. I'm also not Flo Rida. Did you know that that's like a thing that means Florida when you put it together? I guess he's from Florida.
Who would have thought? Mind blown.
The 7th best-selling rapper of all time is Flo Rida. He's even ahead of Tupac.
It goes to show the new age in media. But
Yeah,
anyways,
streaming changed everything, people. Streaming changed everything.
it did. But anyways, on to everyone's favorite portion of the podcast, me and Matt's top 5. And as Matt mentioned earlier, Jamar Chase may be going on to have one of the best rookie seasons we've seen in a long time. However, we're going to give you some non-quarterbacks that had some pretty good offensive seasons of their own. So Matt and I are going to give our top 5 offensive rookies that are not quarterbacks. Because it'd be easy to talk about, Justin Herbert or Baker Mayfield or Dak Prescott or whatever, yada, yada, yada. But we got to give some love to the non-quarterbacks, the offensive players that don't always get the recognition that the quarterbacks do. So without further ado, Matt, am I going first or are you going first?
You're going first.
I am going to kick off my number 5 with a running back that not many young fans remember played for the Denver Broncos, and that is Clinton Portis. Clinton Portis in his rookie season had arguably his best season. Maybe not. Maybe his second season was a little better. But anyways, he rushed for 1,508 yards and 15 touchdowns in his rookie season, in his first season out of the U itself. Shout out to Matt Spencer. But anyways, people forget just how lethal Clinton Portis was in his prime. Or in those first 2 seasons, I should say. He was a good running back.
And he became kind of a funny guy, I remember, in Washington with the glasses and the funny interviews.
That's right. We still remember you, Clinton Portis.
I loved Clinton Portis. He was hilarious.
Anyways, my number 4 is going to be very surprising on most people's list because of the running back that he turned out to be. However, his rookie season was good, but it wasn't as good as some of the other guys on my list, and that is Mr. Adrian Peterson himself, who rushed for 1,341 yards and 12 touchdowns in his rookie campaign for the Minnesota Vikings. Now, as we remember, he had one of the best rushing games you'll see in NFL history, rushing for nearly 300 yards. However, the rest of the season was good, not great, but he still put on a heck of a show and proved why he would go on to be one of, if not the best running back of my generation. Number 3, I might say, is the guy who should have won Offensive Rookie of the Year this season, and that is Ezekiel Elliott, who rushed for 1,631 yards and 15 touchdowns and made first-team All-Pro as a rookie. My opinion, Zeke was the engine that made the Cowboys offense go that year. Dak played off of him. Dak had a good season. I can admit that. But Zeke was the engine that drove that ship. But anyways, I got to give some love to Zeke on that one. My number 2, I'm going to go to a name that Colts fans know very well, and that is Edgerrin James, who in his rookie season rushed for 1,551 yards, 15 touchdowns, and also added 62 catches and 4 touchdowns on the season, and became sorry, I just had a word vomit right there. Wow, sorry guys. But anyways, Edgerrin James became one of the more lethal backs in the NFL for years to come after that, and it all started with that great rookie campaign. And the number 1 player, and I'm going to switch things up a little bit because I know I've had all running backs up to this point, but my number 1 offensive rookie of all time is none other than, in my opinion, the greatest receiver that has ever lived, and that is Randy Moss. Yes, I know I'm probably going to stir a lot of pots by saying he is the greatest receiver ever, but Randy Moss, I'm not even going to have to bring up his stats because they really don't even do it justice, as mind-boggling as they are. Randy Moss was a guy who just came into the league and took games over from day one and gave teams a chance to win just by his big playability. And he will forever be my number one offensive rookie of all time. Short, sweet, to the point, Matt, and that is my list.
That is a very good list. I can't lie. But what you did for running backs, I'm going to do now for receivers because I went all in on receivers except one running back. So here we go without further ado.
Because
At
we all
number
know
five,
how
I
I
have
feel
a
about
guy.
receivers.
I love receivers. You don't love receivers, but it's okay because we both agree that tight ends are sexy. I don't know. We love you. We love you, George Kittle, wherever you are today. Well, my number five is a guy who I think should be in the Hall of Fame, even though I think it's going to take him a while to get there because of the unique position he played, and that's Devin Hester. Another guy from the U, drafted by the Bears. And I remember this is when I was first becoming really aware of football, if you know what I'm saying. Like, oh, that's that team, that's that team. And I was watching the NFL draft, and people were shocked that Devin Hester got picked that high. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll see. And of course, Devin Hester's rookie year accumulates in a trip to the Super Bowl and the quickest score in Super Bowl history. And that wasn't the first time he had done that. He had been great all season. He returned at least 4 kicks to the house. So Devin Hester, I think, was a huge part of the why the Bears were so devastating, especially because Rex Grossman was the quarterback. So anytime you could start in solid field position with a rookie like Devin Hester, it's a great way to start. And of course, he became one of the stars that the Bears had going forward. And I mean, he really did change the way that team functioned because I mean, like you said, with every drive it seemed the Bears were starting in opponent's territory. So all Rex Grossman had to do was hand off to Thomas Jones, and the next thing you know, they'd be scoring, and it would be like a 7-10 ball game. That's how they would win. So I got Devin Hester at number five. Number four is a guy who I think should have won the Rookie of the Year last year, but he did not because we all, and I guess rightfully so, because we all love Justin Herbert, and that's the other Justin from that draft class, Justin Jefferson up in Minnesota. I just remember being enamored with this guy as a rookie because he made Kirk Cousins look like Joe Montana, set a bunch of records, and revitalized that offense to the point where, Adam Thielen went from like number one weapon to like a possession guy you had to watch out for because he would sneak in and grab passes. But Justin Jefferson was an athletic freak. He ran routes quicker and speedier than anyone I've ever seen. And I really think that he deserved setting all those records. I really thought he deserved Rookie of the Year. No offense to Justin Herbert. He's a great quarterback, but Justin Herbert's going to get his accolades. He's going to get his stacks as he goes through his NFL career. I think that's right. You get stacks, right? Dollar bills. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's going to get his money. He's going to secure the bag. He's going to secure the bag later on. Justin Jefferson is also going to secure the bag. I think he's going to be a great receiver going forward. Definitely a Hall of Fame guy. So I mean, yeah, but I really think Justin Jefferson should have won Offensive Rookie of the Year last year. That's why he's my number four. Number three, I'm going to a guy who absolutely lit it up when he was in the league for the first time and had one of like the greatest viral moments in NFL history. And he also it helped he played in the biggest market in the league, and you know who I'm going with, Odell Beckham Jr. Now it seems like we treat Odell Beckham Jr. as a joke more than anything else because of the Cleveland things, the constantly hurt, and the bedroom tapes, which may or may not exist of him. But I think we always forget that catch against Dallas, where everyone's jaw just collectively dropped through the floor and into the molten Earth's core because he just made that one-handed catch with such accuracy and so amazingly. We were like, we have seen the birth of an NFL legend who is going to save Eli Manning's career and create a new niche of his own and replace Michael Strahan as the face of one of the biggest franchises with a large market in America. And it's a real shame he hasn't been able to capitalize on that going forward. But that one rookie season where like the Cowboys were bad, it just makes me remember so much of why we love football and just so many amazing one-handed circus catches that he could make. So I've got Odell Beckham at number three. And number two, I don't really know what else to say because you already mentioned him as your number one. I got Randy Moss. Randy Moss was a key part of an amazing Vikings team, and I mean, his antics were one thing, and now they look charming to us. But I think he also just changed the way the league looked at receivers because he was more bold, more brash, and he backed it up with amazing play. So that's why my number 2 is Randy Moss. And at number 1, I have a guy a guy we forget about because of who his stablemate was as a receiver. But people quietly forget that Anquan Bolden had one of the best rookie seasons in the history. He still got the record, I think, for most yards in his first game with like about 217. The only rookie selected to the 2004 Pro Bowl, and in a team like Arizona, which this is before Kurt Warner even walked through the door, really changed the way that people actually wanted to watch football in Arizona. And, from in a way, I guess you could argue he set up what will become what we have today with the Arizona Cardinals, but I'm not going to get into that too much. But he set a lot of records in and of himself even before Justin Jefferson broke them all. So I got to give props to the guy who had him before that, who took them from Randy Moss as well. So I got to go with Anquan Bolden as my number 1 pick. So I've got Devin Hester, Justin Jefferson, Odell Beckham, Randy Moss, and Anquan Bolden as my top 5 NFL offensive rookies of all time.
So you have 4 receivers and a kick returner who was actually playing corner that year on defense, but obviously his electricity on special teams definitely generated a lot of offense for the Bears. You're absolutely right. But no, pretty solid list, I have to say. But as always, you and I come with the heat in our top 5s, man.
We do. We get the best. We pick only the best, and we service the rest.
I think it's also perfect how you went mostly receiver, I went mostly running back. I think that's
that
just
way
perfect.
we don't get stale that way,
Yeah, it kind of fits us both, our personalities both. That's what people love, and that's what they tune in to see.
They call me Mr. Electric for a reason.
Hey, I see what you did there.
That's why they call me Mr. Fahrenheit,
Do they call you that either?
No. They call Freddie Mercury that, but not me. But
do you have vocals like Freddie Mercury?
No. In my dreams, but not in real life.
Oh, that's depressing.
It is. But what's not depressing is we'll be back next week.
That's right. That's all the time we have for today. Be sure to like and subscribe to the Less is More Sports channel. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like. But until next time, and don't worry, the stand bracket has not been forgotten about. I'm just adding to the anticipation of this conclusion. And it is Michael Jordan versus Conor McGregor. So be sure to stay tuned. And this stand bracket has been a long process. We are coming to the conclusion. So be sure when I post the poll to vote for who has the worst fans, MJ or Conor McGregor, which Matt, we might have, I might have lied for a second. We might have a little bit more time. If you had, neither one of us have a vote in this, but if you had to say, who you think has the worst fans, MJ or Conor?
I guess MJ, just because I know more MJ fans. I don't know a lot of Conor McGregor fans, period. Haters, lovers, MMA fans. I just don't know a lot of them. I do know a lot of people who think MJ played against plumbers, though, but there are also some people who I think overvalue the whole MJ ethos into being like, I don't know. It's definitely MJ just because I have a wider experience with that. And I'd hate to do that because there may be a lot of Conor McGregor fans out there who are absolutely insufferable, but I just don't know them. That's it.
Now that you mention it, me either. I know a lot of Conor McGregor haters. I don't really know a lot of Conor McGregor stans at that matter. So I would also have to lean more towards Jordan and just for the simple fact that Jordan stans will compare stats in a fictional movie to why he is better than LeBron. That alone does it for me.
Bugs Bunny isn't Scottie Pippen or Kyrie Irving. He's not real.
No, he's a Looney Tune.
Yes.
I still can't believe people did that. They actually took the stats from MJ's game in Space Jam to LeBron's game in Space Jam, and I'm like,
and the scoring in Space Jam 2 didn't even make any sense.
It was style points more than anything. I think we're not spoiling anything. I think everyone who's going to see it has seen it by now. It was a fictional game that like LeBron's son in the movie made up.
Yes, it was a dunk contest. I don't
Yeah.
even understand how you could rationalize, like, let's see, the Toon Squad scored 200,000 points on that dunk. Breaking it down, that means LeBron would have had to score 228 times to match MJ's. I'm like, no, people. Bill Murray is not walking onto that court, and neither is Don Cheadle. Bugs Bunny, surely to God, ain't, because he ain't real. So just stop it. Just stop it. Well, let kids' movies be kids' movies, please.
And don't let kids' movies fuel a lifelong sports debate that we will probably never get through.
No, we're never getting out of this now because of Space Jam: A New Legacy. Who would have thought that was the straw that broke the camel's back?
A movie. I know, of all things, a movie.
A movie featuring characters from A Clockwork Orange, King Kong, Game of Thrones, Casablanca, and God knows what else.
Pennywise.
Ruined sports forever. Pennywise, yeah. Pennywise ruined sports forever. That's all there is to it.
Because we all float down here.
Yes. We'll all float on okay. All right.
All right. But anyways, that is all the time we have for today. So again, be sure to tell us what you liked, what you didn't like, and subscribe to the channel. But for the meantime, Matt and I are out.
Hey, what are Airbud stats?
I'm ending the show.